Steve, over the past 2 weeks, I think I've said this on a couple of our associate private masterminds, has saved roughly 6 figures worth of 3 paydays.
In 1 week?
Yeah, in 1 week, handling deal nuances.
Hey, Mike.
You can't hear me? Oh.
You turn it off?
No, I turned it off. See? Son of a beach.
Dad joke.
Let's start over again. Let's replay it.
No, they heard you vaguely.
Okay. Over the past week, Steve saved about 6 figures worth of deals when it comes to selling nuances and curveballs. So I wanted him to start and tell his story, or the story of the past 2 deals, and how you were able to handle those curveballs, because that could have been very costly, but you were able to take care of it. Over to you, Steve.
Thank you, Zach. All right, so I'm only going to do one of these deals just because it's got a lot to it. So we, about 3 weeks ago, I think on a high 6 mastermind, we went over this. So I'm just going to get everybody up to speed, and then I got something special for you guys. So what we have here is Mark Biviano had a sandwich deal, 48-month sandwich on a property. He got under contract. I believe it was either the beginning of December or the end of November. And what ended up happening was everything was smooth sailing. And after, I think it was like 30 to 40 days into marketing, we knew the payment was high, but we wanted to see what the market would bring. So, is the audio fine? All right. So what ended up happening was, from the feedback we got from buyers, the payment was high. So Mark went back to the seller and he said, hey, what would you be open to subsidizing so we can get our buyers to move forward? Because I think if we're able to subsidize anything, it's gonna move us forward. And the seller had said, let's do $200. I'll subsidize out of the payment to get this sold. Okay. Now the seller, obviously a mix between a husband and wife, and we were speaking with the husband. We assumed, and we made sure by asking him, all right, you're going to communicate this with your wife? Yes, I did, blah, 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 blah. Let's fast forward now to when Mark accepted a buyer. I believe it was day like 54. He had it on the market. So at that point, Mark had sent over like the final couple of things that needed to be signed. And also, what the mistake that we made was we probably should have sent an addendum in January about the $200 subsidy. So what ended up happening was the seller, the husband, went and signed everything immediately about a week before, and about 72 hours before the closing, his spouse had finally looked at everything to sign it, and this was apparently the first time she saw the $200 subsidy for the payment, and she was freaking out. So at that point, this is now bring us to hour 25 before the closing. What I have for you, because like I said, I've explained everything, but I have actual texts from 10:30 p.m. to 10:45, and the seller spiraling out of control. All right. So here are the texts. I'm having my attorney review everything on the original documents. I'm guaranteeing that this is not going to be done by Friday closing. 2 minutes later, I'm not signing anything! Exclamation point. Are you a registered real estate agent in Connecticut? Is your LLC registered in Connecticut? Send me the original agreement, please. I'm trying to call you. 10:44 p.m. Oh my God, on their website, our house is the only one listed. Should have been sent to her husband, but she sent it to Mark on accident. I talked to my attorney, who was my neighbor in Connecticut, and he said, we absolutely are entitled to see your contract with your buyers! Exclamation point. There is no text messages going back to her at this point. Just so everybody knows, she's having a conversation with herself through text at 10:45 at night. Can you also send us all the correspondence with your attorney about this transaction? Can you call me 10:46 p.m.? This is our first time on this road. Maybe you can send us any references of your company and information on those lines. No response. Can you email me the documents that the buyer has signed? All right. So these are all the text messages. There was about 15 of them with no response. And I got a text from Mark, are you up? And I was. So
hold on. Take a quick second. It's almost 11 o'clock at night, and Mark is reaching out to his coach because he's getting bombarded
On his first deal.
on his first deal. This is his first deal, and I'm sure you're going to go over maybe the paydays later. But this is a major thing for Mark, because I can tell you that the first deal solidifies confidence, and it changes your game once you get your first deal done. So there was a lot on the line for everyone involved in this process.
Let's plant the seed. Just what's the one number? We'll come back to it. What's the one number of all 3 paydays for the hell of it?
what's the payday one?
All of them.
$74,000 deal.
So, but he's a day away from payday one of.
He was a day away from a $45,000, like 11.5% down payment.
Kind of a big deal.
Yeah, it's huge.
So he's freaking out a little bit, and I don't know if Mark's on here, but Steve, back to you.
Yeah. So here's what ends up happening. I said, Mark, let's sleep on it. Well, we're going to talk about this for the next 2 hours, but we're going to go to sleep after that. And what we did was we role played basically all these scenarios, how we were going to answer it when we talked to the actual seller. So we were crazy prepared. We actually role played in the morning a bunch of times because the seller wouldn't jump on a call. We kept asking, let's just jump on a call. There's no reason to hash this over text messages. Let's jump on a call. So during the
So
day.
you're role playing at 11 o'clock at night?
Role playing at 11 o'clock at night. And then we role played again, I believe, at 10 in the morning till about noontime.
Okay, so this is how. Sorry to do a shameless plug it, but
You
this
gotta
is
look
how.
that way. He's on the camera.
This
that
is
way.
how the community is different.
Yeah. So what ends up happening is we don't get the actual sellers on the phone until I think it was 9 o'clock at night that day. And in the interim, the only thing I didn't write down here is in the interim of them not getting on the phone until that time, she then sent us 3 pages of a question on every line in the agreement that they signed 90 days before. So completely spiraling. The reason why I went and showed you all these text messages outside of being theatrical, and I wanted you to ride the anxiety train with me, when we talked to them at 9 o'clock at night, we didn't answer or talk about any of this. It never came up once. All it was a human transaction, a human conversation. All we were doing was getting everybody back on board so they can know where they were. And at the end of it, it went from all of this to what else can we do to make these buyers like succeed and just they were so excited for them. Now, here's one thing you should know. Mr. Mark, outside of this being his first deal, he's just an awesome dude. All he cared about was if this deal falls through, the money, I don't care about that. There is a family of 10 buyers, family of 10 that's in a hotel room right now, planning to close tomorrow. They have $45,000 that they took out of their 401k, paid penalties on. That's irreversible. That's done. They have their whole life in a storage bin waiting to move the next day. And their life is going to be completely uprooted if we can't figure this out. And who knows, they could be homeless tomorrow because they're in a hotel room. So, with that being said, we closed the next day and everything went flawless and it went back. But these deals, you're not a great investor if everything goes perfect. It's how you deal with adversity. It's how you, I'm a human being. I was as stressed out as Mark was. We were trying to figure this out, and that's why we role played a zillion times to just talk this out and be prepared if we needed to be. But at the end of the day, when it comes to real estate, you have to be ready for an average deal is probably not like seamless. There's going to be bumps in the road, whether it's in the very beginning, whether it's during the term, whether it's at closing down the road. You just got to welcome the uncomfort. You got to be comfortable in discomfort. So that's really it. I mean, my other deal is not as interesting as this, but that was a $74,000 deal that Mark was able to get back in line, and he deserves it. He did an awesome job. So.
Okay, so Steve, when people say, like seriously, often they say, can I do your QLS course and do deals? I say, yes, you can. But when you hit nuances like this, where's your phone a friend? Where's your lifeline? Because they do come up. It's not like every deal, but they do come up.
Yeah.
Phone
There
a
you go,
friend.
folks.
Phone
Story
to
time with
Steve.
Steve.
Love it. Well, because the main point of this entire thing is, and you said this to me many times, Steve, and that is they just wanted to be heard. They just wanted to be heard. It's a relationship business.
Link's big on that. Just communicate.
Let's pass over to our good friend Michael. Hey, his video
With
works
video.
too.
Two for
Love it.
two.
Come on, guys. As far as curveballs, I always like to go back to my second deal that I did. The one where the young couple moved into the home. They just got married not too long before that. They purchased the home on terms, and it was a lease purchase. They put $22,000 down to move in. And I would say 3 or 4 months in, the wife passes away, and the husband, I mean, the husband doesn't want to stay at the house anymore. Their business totally fell apart when all that happened. He got behind on the payment. I would say one month at that time. It was about one payment behind. And he just wanted to move out. He didn't want to deal with it anymore. He just wanted to walk away. And this was my second deal, and I was I started to panic. I really did deep down, but I was just trying to keep my composure. I reached out to Chris. How can we handle this? What are we going to do? And he was like, "Don't worry, this happens. We just gotta pivot. We gotta stay calm, and we're going to handle it. We're set up perfectly the way we structured everything, and we're going to get through it." So he ended up moving out about a month and a half after that. So I was 2 months behind on the payment. I did put aside money in the beginning from my payday ones to account for any type of hiccup that came along the way. And so we had to get the buyer out of the house. Coincidentally, he was growing marijuana in the house too. There's a bunch of stuff that came up during that time. So I had to clear the house out. So I had to spend some money there as well. But all in all, I didn't panic because we were set up. We're set up right with the terms of the deal, and that's what you guys have to understand. That when you do your deals correctly, when your coaches are helping you structure your deals, you're going to be in a position where if things happen, you just pivot. You pivot and you solve the problem, right? Not every deal is going to go perfect. In business, nothing goes perfect all the time. There's always going to be nuances that happen. And it's you just putting the pieces together and getting through those curveballs that are thrown at you is where those businesses succeed, right? The guy moved out, we cleaned out the property. Nothing was damaged in the property. I put the property back on the market, resold it within 15 days, got another deposit for $15,000. So actually, we came up with this curveball. We ended up coming up ahead of where we were before. I would say at least another $7 or $8 grand ahead where we were before, after all costs, by dealing with this issue. So by being set up correctly, we really didn't come out. We didn't lose money on the deal, right? Might have had a little bit of a headache to deal with during a month or two time span, but we came out ahead just because of the way we structured the deal, and had a little money on the side, right? From our payday one. It's smart to do that. Put money aside for any nuances that come up. So being the second deal, that was quite a bit that happened within that one deal. So it was very stressful at the time. Now looking back, it honestly wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. So,
Mike, how much money did you put aside from that initial deposit? Was it like a third or something?
yeah, I would say it was about close to 8 or 10 grand that I kept aside.
Okay, so 8 was the number I had in my head. Good. And then you paid 2 months, so 20, was it 20 something hundred a month? If I remember.
Yeah,
That-
close to 2,400 a month. So it was probably about close to 5 grand worth of payments.
Okay, and then you had a dumpster, I think, or a cleanup bill for
$600.
Okay, so that was your outgo. Even though yes, you had some time and some mental energy, like you said, but that was your outgo.
Yep.
Now, if you had back to Adam's discussion, if you had taken that $8,000, because you could have, it's your money, and spent every penny of it, then it would have been a different set of stress, right? Am I right? Am I
Oh,
accurate?
definitely. Yeah. I mean, it was so far. We're still early in building my business, so I felt like I wasn't at a point where I could take the profits and start spending and doing just making erratic decisions. I wanted to play it safe, and for anything that would pop up, something like this. So getting that payday one and that deposit in the beginning with these buyers is really what saved us, right? So we didn't accept them unless we were positioned correctly with the buyer, and that's the reason why we have them they have skin in the game, for times like that.
This probably ended up cashing out too, didn't it? Didn't this go to a payday 3?
Yep, this one cashed out. I would say this last October is when it
Awesome.
closed, and we got. I think the total deal was close to 80,000, maybe a couple grand higher than that. Yeah.
What is
Back
it
in,
with the California students? Yeah, it's like 80, 100, not a big deal.
So laid back.
Yeah.
Good
I
job,
think
Mike.
payday 3 was about 40,000 or so, somewhere around there. Awesome deal.
That's awesome.
Does anybody have questions
These
for Mike
Yeah.
or Steve? I mean, we're very nonchalant about this. So, anybody have any questions to Mike, Steve, or any questions based on just selling
Pivots.
nuances or pivots or anything along those lines?
I promise you, there's someone in the community that has hit a pivot that when you come into the community, we can help you with. Someone's going to speak up there.
Yeah, this is Tony Andy. I was going to ask Steve in his example, does he think any of that problem would have come up had the husband and wife had a conversation about the $200?
Oh no, 100% it came up because this actually happened. The only thing I didn't say about this actually happened when Mark and I first got this about to get under agreement. Mark sent out the actual agreement, and they were both on title, so they had to both sign. It was sent an email electronically, and the husband signed, and then 3 days later, we still haven't got a signature from his spouse. And then she called saying, I thought this was a regular transaction. I don't know what any of this means. And me and Mark had to go and basically explain everything over again. We got her on board, so it was fine. But the problem was that as much as me and Mark had said, we really want to have the next phone call with your spouse as well. I want to make sure everybody's on board. He said, oh, it's fine. I'll let her know. And he never did. Apparently that was something that was going on behind the scenes. But that's the thing, it's communication. If everybody's on the same page from day one, your communication line is open and you don't have to worry about anything going, at least your relationship's so much stronger.
Did you get that first pullback when she said, I don't know what this is all about? You had those timestamps. Was the other one at night too? I'm curious.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, say it again, Craig. They're talking to Mike.
So after 3 days, she hit you back, said, I don't even know what all this is. I thought it was conventional. And she was pulling back and you had to go explain it. When she hit you guys, was that at night?
It was.
So she might have been a little at night too, because
it was after work. It was after work. It was like,
both times. I'm serious. So
Yeah.
you might want to call those people in the morning when they're having their coffee. Just a thought.
Good point. We can role play with them at midnight next time.
Chris, that's a great point, Chris. And I was gonna suggest that, when you get that, I think Zach, where were you, Zach, when you got a better deal because you were too busy to respond?
Sure.
Yeah. It's a great property that we have. That's easily going to be a 6+ figure deal. I was out. I think we were visiting. I think we were down Note School.
Dallas.
Yeah, it's the only person I responded to. I think during that time frame, I was just making a couple calls. This lady emailed me. Originally wanted $425,000 for the property. It expired. That's what she was on the market for with the realtor. I just asked her a couple simple questions, which I always, and I don't always recommend you ask these questions via email, but we were traveling, so this is the only way I could do it. I just said, what's the least you're willing to take? What's the longest time frame you're willing to go? and she replied 425 in 36 months. And then I just didn't reply. And then eventually, by the time I got home, which was like 3 or 4 days later, we ended up buying the property for exactly what she owed. Plus, I think she ended up negotiating. We ended up negotiating paying like $11,000 above that because they had some credit card debt. And then I found out later that she was in arrears. So we basically bought the property for like 370 something. So we were able to gain about 50 grand in equity just by letting her negotiate against herself, because by me not responding, you could see the temperature as far as the
No chase.
yeah, and the seller's challenge that she was facing at the time was much greater than she originally put on.
Well, and which is just an extension of what Steve ran into, which is if they'd gotten on the phone and tried to talk to this lady when she was feeling argumentative, it would have been argumentative.
Yeah. No, great point. Yeah, don't call any of your sellers at 11 at night.
Yeah. That's true.
Or buyers.
But most importantly, though, and we talk about this all the time, it's key. You're most of the time, I'll say 90% of the time when we're talking to sellers, we're talking to one half of them, whether it's just a partner or it's a spouse. And it's always important on the follow-up call to say, what would be a time in which both decision makers are available so we can review the information I sent over? Because you could run into this exact problem, whether this is an anomaly or not. It's very important you get everybody on board from the beginning.
Good stuff.
Yeah, Steve, it's not an anomaly. I would say a lot of us have lost a lot of deals because we didn't have multiple parties involved,
Yep.
or all of the parties that the decision makers involved, and we didn't know how to solve the other party's challenge. We only solved one of their challenges.